day, everyone. This is Mark Velo, and you're listening to Headline News. Nominated Secretary of Commerce, in the face of the threat of Huawei, will try to protect the U.S. On January 26, Biden's Commerce Secretary nominee, Gina Raimondo, told a Senate hearing that she would do her best to protect the United States against threats from companies such as Huawei, and would not make any concessions to the Chinese Communist Party's backdoor networks. The hearing was held in the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation. During the issue of whether to keep Huawei on the entity list, she said she would decide after consulting with several parties. Doing everything possible to protect the United States from companies like Huawei. During the hearing, Senator Deborah Strobel Fisher asked Raimondo how she viewed the national security risk regarding Chinese equipment supplied to U.S. communication networks, particularly with regard to Huawei. Raimondo stated that national security has to come first, obviously. With respect to 5G, it is an opportunity to move forward in 5G and create great innovation and jobs. But we can't have the Chinese, or really anyone, having a backdoor into our network and compromising, in any way, our national or economic security. Raimondo added that if she, as Secretary of Commerce, is confirmed, she will do everything in her power to use all methods to protect Americans and U.S. networks from Chinese interference or any backdoor influence into U.S. networks, whether that be Huawei, ZTE, or any other company. Stepping back to a holistic approach regarding CCP threats. Senator Ted Cruz pointed out that the former Trump administration used economic pressure to prevent the Chinese Communist Party from exploiting U.S. technology to carry out human rights abuses. In response, Raimondo said that the CCP's actions have been anti-competitive, hurtful to American workers and businesses. As you point out, they are culpable for atrocious human rights abuses. So whether it is the entity's lists or tariffs or prevailing duty, I intend to use all those tools to the fullest extent possible to level the playing field for the American worker. Raimondo further stated that the Biden administration had said they would step back from the whole government approach as it relates to the threat of the CCP, and will take a holistic approach against the Chinese Communist threat, fulfilling her role on that team. Commit to keeping Huawei on the entity list? Representative Cruz also noted that the Commerce Department maintains the entity list, which are foreign parties that engage in activities contrary to U.S. national security, and that in 2019 and 2020, the former Trump administration has added several groups of Chinese technology companies to the entity list. He asked Raimondo if she could confirm that those companies would remain on the entity list. Raimondo replied that she agreed with Cruz that the entities list is a powerful tool for the Commerce Secretary to support U.S. national security. Cruz further asked if there could be a commitment that Huawei would remain on the list. Raimondo replied that if confirmed as Secretary of Commerce, she would consult with Cruz, consult with industry, and consult with allies so as to evaluate what is best for U.S. national and economic security. On January 14th of this year, the Commerce Department's Bureau of Industry Security, BIS, added China National Offshore Oil Corporation, or CNOOC, to its entity list and added the Chinese company Skyrizon to its military end user MEU list, according to a U.S. Department of Commerce report. Both companies threaten U.S. national security. CNOOC by helping China intimidate neighbors in the South China Sea, and Skyrizon for its capability to develop, produce, or maintain military items, such as military aircraft engines, the report reads. In August 2020, the Commerce Department added 24 state-owned enterprises to its entity list, including several subsidiaries of China Communications Construction Company. Further attention will be paid to how this entity list will be enforced in the future under the Biden administration. Cruz. Impeachment of Trump stems from hate and is divisive. Texas Senator Ted Cruz said on Tuesday, January 26, that the unconstitutional impeachment of Trump was driven by hatred towards Trump and was divisive. Cruz made the remarks Tuesday on Fox News' The Hannity Show. He said the congressional Democrats' conviction of former President Trump was driven by the partisan rage and the partisan anger that the Democrats feel. He told Hannity they hate Donald J. Trump, and they are engaging in an act that I think is petty retribution, and that is vindictive and a waste of time. He added, so I think it's time to move on. Cruz also said that he listened to Biden's inaugural address and thought his speech was good and included a call for unity, but that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer must not have gotten the message. He added that congressional Democrats weren't listening to what Biden said, explaining that the very first step they took is to charge down the road of a partisan and divisive and angry impeachment trial. On the impeachment itself, Cruz argued that the House's action does not meet the constitutional standard. He said they didn't pretend to follow due process. They didn't have hearings. They didn't pretend to look at any facts or any evidence. He said there was an exercise in political rage. It was their id speaking. He further commented that the Democrats had wanted to impeach Trump from the beginning. Cruz felt that he was kind of trapped in Groundhog Day. Every January, we're going to be doing another impeachment. Biden's decision to cancel the U.S. gas pipeline program, the Keystone XL pipeline, last week eliminated 11,000 jobs in the United States. The Biden administration's argument for this is that the construction workers are temporary workers, and it's only the temporary workers that they're cutting. Cruz responded that the current Democratic Party is the party of Hollywood celebrities, big tech billionaires, and those extremely wealthy coastal elites. But if you're a working person, if you're a union member, if you're blue collar, if you have calluses on your hands, if you're a police officer or a firefighter, this Democratic Party does not care about you. California unemployment benefits fraud could top $11 billion during the pandemic. On Monday, January 25th, California officials confirmed that since the pandemic broke out in the state, as high as $11.4 billion in unemployment benefits were paid to fraudsters. According to a press release, between March 2020 and January 16, 2021, California's Employment Development Department, EDD, processed 19.5 million claims and paid out $114 billion in unemployment benefits. EDD confirmed that 9.7% of payments have been made to fraudulent claims. EDD also identified that up to an additional 17% of payments made during this time have been made to potentially fraudulent claims. These claims are under investigation. In one case, a former California EDD employee used the name and social security number of Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein and collected $21,000 in unemployment benefits. The scam wasn't uncovered until Bank of America, which administers California EDD's benefit debit cards, discovered that the unemployment benefits were being collected in Feinstein's name and flagged these transactions. Also, according to a law enforcement task force led by district attorneys, hundreds of millions of dollars in unemployment benefits were being paid out to inmates in prison. Many of these inmates weren't even held in California. They found that many felons serving prison sentences were receiving unemployment benefits, including inmates on death row, those serving life sentences, and human traffickers. Many of these payments were being sent out of state. In a letter to California Governor Gavin Newsom, the district attorneys said the volume of fraud, as well as the types of inmates involved, is staggering. Julie Su is the Secretary of California's Labor and Workforce Development Agency. She said, EDD is now working with some of the country's most successful fraud prevention businesses and law enforcement agencies to protect the state's unemployment benefit system. She added, we know that many Californians are waiting on payments, and EDD is working quickly to validate their claims and get their benefits to them. 21 states hired ID.me, a Virginia-based security firm, to investigate into the fraud. Black Hall is the founder and CEO of ID.me. He said, currently, ID.me is blocking about $1 billion in fraud per week across the states we serve. The fraud rate for new claims is at least 35% and over 10 times what we see at federal agencies. Hall had warned earlier this month that fraud funds in California went primarily to foreign crime organizations. These organizations used stolen identity information to file for unemployment benefit claims and used money mules in the United States to pick up benefit debit cards. When the Russians and the Nigerians and the Chinese are the players on the field, they are going to put up some points, Hall said. This is a very sophisticated cyber attack that's being run at scale. This concludes today's broadcast. Thank you for your time, and stay tuned for the next headline news.